Welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Player Ranks. In this series, we rank various Yu-Gi-Oh! Themes based on your comments and suggestions. Come back every Tier List Tuesday to see an all-new installment of this series. Alright, what's up guys? We are doing a new video today. This is one you've been requesting tirelessly. This is actually, we're doing the Dark Magician tier list all over again. This time we're adding all the new cards, all of the new tech options, the ban lists that have happened have moved all of these cards around. Some of course, still suck, and we're going to address that, and some have gotten significantly better because of the new cards. I have with me PB.
What up?
He does a lot of content for Dark Magician. You can go check out his channel. He does way more Dark Magician content than almost anybody on YouTube, Master Duel, TCG, all that stuff. If you like the deck, go there, check it out, subscribe, all that great stuff. We also have Fancy Dan. He's also got quite a bit going on there.
And we have Lord Trent himself here.
we've got a lot of people. Yeah. But we're gonna do this tier list. Let's get started. First off, we've got Dragoon.
Easily F tier.
Yeah.
S tier, I think we all agree. There's not much to say. This card can't be destroyed by card effect, targeted, can destroy cards during, can destroy 2 monsters on the field, inflicts damage equal to their attack,
and
it has a negate.
Do one though, because
yeah, if you summon it off Tamias, you're gonna do 1. If you summon it off Red Ice Fusion, you can do 2. His summoning condition isn't that bad, even if you use Red Ice Fusion. It puts a Dark Magician in the graveyard. If you do that, now you have a card for Eternal Soul. Like, overall, this card's very, very strong.
Yeah, you could also summon this guy with Branded Fusions, so yeah, you could play it like outside Dark Magician.
That is true. That is true. This card is very good, and it dominated the meta for like at least over a year. Now Verdicon is banned, and Phoenix Enforcer took over for a while, but this card is actually very, very strong. Next is Master of Chaos. This card's probably like a B tier. It's a good optional card to have, but it's not like the best card ever. I think the kind of the weakest part of this card is just that it requires quite a bit to summon. It's a Chaos Monster and a Dark Magician. You can use, again, Eye of Tamias to summon it, but you can use Illusion.
Yeah, Illusion of Chaos
to summon it.
Yeah, summon it. You can use Illusion of Chaos, 1 Dark Magician, and 1 Secrets of Dark Magic. But the other thing is that if you have that situation, you could also ritual summon the Illusion of Chaos that makes a monster negate, so it's kind of tricky.
Yeah. And his effects are actually like pretty decent effects. When he's summoned, you could summon a dark or light monster from your graveyard, and you can banish a light and dark monster on your field, and then you can tribute a light and dark monster on your field, and then you can banish your opponent's entire field. Which again isn't like a bad effect. It just requires a bit of setup.
It's
and then
actually really good because it could actually play through skill drain because you could just
tribute itself,
and also it brings back Dragoon, so it's not that bad, but I'll say you really need to think at that situation if you really want to summon this guy.
Yeah. You can bring back Dragoon, and then when he's destroyed, you can add back a spell.
Yeah.
Which is all good effects. It's just the summoning requirements are a bit extensive, but overall probably a pretty good card. Next is Dark Cavalry. This card's probably like a C tier. It's not actually that bad of an effect. Overall, the effects are actually kind of decent. It gains 100 attack for every spell or trap card on both players' side of the field and graveyards, which can actually add up to a lot of attack. And I think it already starts at about 28. It requires a Dark Magician and a Warrior Monster, which again isn't unheard of. Right, it can happen in a super poly situation. Like you can summon a Dark Magician and fuse with your opponent's Baron de Fleur. It really isn't a unheard of situation. You can use summon off of, again, Eye of Tamias, although I wouldn't recommend too much playing it. But it also has an effect where if a card is targeted, you can discard a card and then negate that effect and destroy that card. That effect's not once per turn whatsoever. Like this card has really, really, really good overall effects. It's just a Warrior Monster is not something you typically play in this deck. So it's just kind of, you've got this part of the fusion that is out of archetype that makes it not so great.
I mean, on one hand, you can always get it out with Eye of Tamias, but like you said earlier with Super Poly, this card's actually really, really good against the Striker matchup, Sky Striker matchup.
Yeah.
Raise the Warrior, they have all these spells engrave, he just keeps gaining attack. They target it with Widowmaker or whatever, and you just negate.
Yeah. Like it's not a bad card, it's just very situational. Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. Where are we putting this?
Probably A tier.
A tier. Damn, you guys are
A tier.
quick. So this card's really good. It counts as Dark Magician on the field and in the graveyard. Already really good because you can use it with Eternal Soul. On top of that, it is unaffected. It protects your opponent's back row.
Your opponent's back
I'm sorry,
row.
it protects.
That was terrible.
It
No.
protects your back row for what? Destruction and targeting, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, destruction and targeting. And then it's unaffected because it counts as a Dark Magician on the field, so it's unaffected by your opponent's card effects because of Eternal Soul. So overall, it's a pretty tough lock to get rid of once it hits the field with Eternal Soul.
Also, he's like 3,000 attack.
He is.
Like
He's
that.
3,000
He's,
attack.
like,
He's
really-
pretty strong.
He's really hard to get rid of.
He is actually really good in the after game 2 because most times your opponent's gonna like side in cards to pop your back row, but like you could just like not summon Dragoon and just make this guy. Then like you can protect your back row and just be prepared for Heartbeat, Spirit Duster, Lightning Storm, those kind of things. And after that, he's also a dragon, and at that point when you summon this guy, you have a Dark Magician in graveyard. So you could just special summon your Dark Magician and fuse that to a Dragoon, special summon this guy back again on your opponent's turn, and do multiple plays. So yeah, he is probably like one of the best fusions in Dark Magician. Honestly, I never lost a game when I summoned this guy.
Yeah. He's really good. Sometimes he's just a little tough to get to. That's really the only issue. He does require a fusion with a dragon. Which, if you use the Tamias Monster, is cool, but if you don't, sometimes it can be a little difficult. Next is the Dark Magicians. This is probably like high B or low
A
A,
tier,
somewhere around there.
I'll put it in A tier. It's really good for OTKs.
OTKs, it's good for. It's good for gaining advantage in general. So basically, what it does is when you activate a spell or trap card, you can draw a card, and then if it's a quick play or a trap card, you can activate it immediately or set it to your side of the field. Like both of those, that effect's pretty good because you can use it during your opponent's turn. You can draw like a trap card. Like even if you draw,
Like Imperm.
yeah, like Imperm, you can immediately use it. It's a pretty cool effect. You can use the fusion spell if you draw it. You can do a few different cool things, and then when this card's destroyed, you can actually float into a Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. You have to float into both. You can't just float into one. That's kind of the drawback because you have to play Dark Magician to get the floating effect. Now the cool thing is you have to remember Dark Magician, you can actually set the top of your deck to be whatever you want it to be. So you can actually put Eternal Soul on top. You can put anything that would help you on top of your deck, and then it can help you summon Dark Magicians during your opponent's turn. It's actually pretty cool.
It's a few plays you could do with this card is you could use Soul Servant, and you could go ahead and set your Eternal Soul. Well, you could put Eternal Soul on top of your deck, set that card and special summon your Dark Magician, or if you do play Mahad, you could put Mahad on top of your deck, draw into that card because you already did activate the Soul Servant, special summon it, and just go OTK. There's multiple things you could do with this thing.
Yep. Next is Dark Paladin. It's probably a C tier card. It's not a bad card. By any means is this a bad card. It's just not a card that's easy to summon. Now,
It's more about the fusion materials.
yeah, it's the problem is the fusion material. As you can see, the easier the fusion material, usually the better a card. So you have to fuse Buster Blader and Dark Magician. There's no reason for you to play Buster Blader, just because he's a straight up brick. He just does nothing, and there's really no way for you to actually summon the Buster Blader onto the field. This card gains 500 attack for every dragon on the field and graveyards, which again isn't bad in certain matchups. And then also it has a non once per turn negate of a spell card by discarding, but it has to be
face up.
Yeah, he has to remain face up on the field. So if your opponent
Like anti-Regeki,
Yeah.
whatever that card is.
if your opponent pops him while you're trying to negate your opponent's effect, this negation won't actually
Or
resolve.
Book of Moon.
Book of Moon, because if you just negate the Book of Moon, but if you run out of cards in your hand, then rip. Actually, no, it negates a normal spell, right? A normal
any spell.
Oh, any spell. Never
Yeah.
mind, that's something else. But yeah, it's actually not bad. It's just a little tough to summon. That's kind of the issue with this card.
Yeah, I have Tamias like cheeses like every one of these guys out. But, like I have Tamias like for some reason isn't searchable. It's such a strange card.
Yeah,
If that thing was searchable, that thing would have been like really good.
Yeah.
Like it was going to be busted, but the problem is it's not searchable.
that's the biggest issue with I have Tamias. If I have Tamias was was a searchable card, it'd probably be S tier because
Yeah,
it would
like,
just
all
be
these guys would be like S and A tiers.
It's not that these guys would be particularly better. It's just it would be more reasonable to summon all of them because they all have decent effects. Like no one is going to say that any of these cards are bad. This is a non once per turn negate. This is a non once per turn negate that finishes games. This guy's really good. These two are really, really strong. Obviously, Dragoon is just amazing. All these cards are they're actually pretty good. It's just summoning them can be a little bit too complicated, and you don't want to play Eye of Tamias at too high of a level because you don't want to brick on it, and then too low of a level, it's kind of a problem too because you'll never see it, and you can't search it off of Rod or any of the other cards, which sucks.
And if you start with Eye of Tamias, it's like, how you gonna get Dark Magician on the field turn 1?
Yeah.
That's like one of the roughest things to do.
The other thing with Eye of Tamias is that most times people will go into Dragoon or Dark Magician to Dragon Knight, but to make these two, you can just actually go ahead and special summon your Dark Magician and link it off with Imiduct the World Chalice Dragon, because you just need one normal monster, and after that, on the following turn, you can just special summon your Dark Magician from Graveyard, use Secrets of Dark Magic to make Dragoon or Dragon Knight, so you honestly really don't need the Tamias at that point to make the main two targets that you want to make. So, yeah you kind of don't need to play it.
Next is, what is this guy called again?
Dark Flare Knight.
Dark Flare Knight. This is our first Dork Magician card. This card is really bad. Now, it's really bad. It requires Flame Swordsman. Just understand this. A Flame Swordsman, a fusion monster, and then Dark Magician, which is already asking for a lot because Flame Swordsman is in itself a fusion monster. So if you did it the right way, you would have Polymerization, used two monsters to make a Flame Swordsman.
What is it? Flame Manipulator and Masaki, the legendary swordsman?
Yeah, those two. And then you fuse that with a
3
Dark
cards,
Magician.
And another Polymerization. Dark Magician has 5 cards.
That's 5 cards.
Your
Now,
whole hand.
That's assuming you did it the right way. If you did it the wrong way and you just used Eye of Tamias, then you make this. What does this have? What effect does this have that would require you all of these targets and fusion materials? This card, basically, any damage you take when you battle becomes 0. And then when this card is destroyed by battle, specifically by battle, you can summon a Mirage Knight from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And Mirage Knight is right here. We might as well just review him now. He's another F tier, because this is what you get for this card getting destroyed. It has no other effects. That's all it does is summon Mirage Knight. Mirage Knight basically has a Crusadia Avermax effect, where when it battles your opponent's monster, it gains attack equal to that opponent's monster. So if your opponent's monster is 3,000 attack, this thing has 28, and you basically will inflict 28 to your opponent. At the end of the turn that this card battles, it gets banished. So you put all of these resources into this, hope your opponent is stupid enough to attack into it, then you get this, and this thing basically blows itself up after it attacks.
If you don't negate it.
If your opponent, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the worst payoff. Nothing is good about, like, I don't know why you would do any of this. It's just a horrible line of play. Alright, next is Amulet Dragon. This card's probably like a D or C tier. It's really not that good. When it's summoned, you banish spells and traps out of the graveyard, and then it gains 100 attack. If this card is destroyed, you can summon a spellcaster from your graveyard. Again, it's not that it's particularly all that bad. It's just that it's a little bit complicated to summon. It's a dragon plus a Dark Magician, and you have to understand, why would you summon this when you can summon this? This card is literally better in every single imaginable way than this card.
Or this.
Or Dragoon. Like, literally, these two are 100 times better than Amulet Dragon. I just don't understand it when you have the option to summon these two, why you would summon these two. This card is one of those cards that when it came out, you can make the argument wasn't that bad, but it's been power crept so much that it's just pointless to ever play. Next is Dark Magician, the Girl, the Dragon Knight.
We'll put that in B tier.
B tier?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Are you going to play Dark Magician Girl?
I don't play Dark Magician Girl, but as a card itself, it's a quick play pop, so it's not that bad, to be honest. As a card, the thing is, I really am a big fan of playing Dark Magician Girl and Dark Magician, but as a card that you can summon off from Eye of Tamias, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Is it better than these two?
Better than those two? In a way, because it's a quick play, a quick play pop, so like it could interrupt your opponent in a different way. It's not a negate, but I do think it's worth to be in B, and it's more playable.
Fair enough. We'll go to the next one. We'll give you that one. We'll take turns. We'll take turns.
All right.
I would have put this in C tier, but we'll take
I would
turns.
put it in C as well.
But we'll take turns. I think it's worse than these two, but we'll go with this for now. Next is Magi Magician Girl. This card is, I'd say, probably like a C tier card. By the way, this card has never been released in the TCG because of the artwork. I don't think that this artwork is particularly crazy. I don't know why.
It looks crazy. It looks like a mugshot or something.
It looks like a fake card. I'll tell you
yeah.
that.
Originally, this was going to be Dark Magician Girl artwork. The counterpart part of the other original comic writers, Takahashi's artwork, the Dark Magician, and it was just a Dark Magician Girl, but they just switched the name and make it XCs because why not?
You got to make new stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that this card is like that great. It's actually better in Pendulum Magicians than it is in this deck. So it requires two level 6 spellcaster monsters, which obviously it's meant for Dark Magician Girl. None of the effects have anything to do with Dark Magician. So, and neither does the name. Basically what it does is you can detach a material and banish a card in your hand, and then you get two effects that were formerly, at the time of this card's release in Japan, were banned, which is you can target a monster to your opponent's graveyard, special summon it, or, which is obviously Monster Reborn, or you can target a monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. Basically, you can change a heart your opponent, or you can Monster Reborn your opponent. Again, both broken effects at one time in the game, but they're just not that broken, and both cards aren't banned anymore. Yes, they're at 1, but honestly, this card is just not that good. I think it's not only, it really missed its window to actually be good in the game, and now it would just be kind of like a tech option, Pendulum Magicians, honestly, more than anything. Next is Ebon High Magician. This guy's probably like a C tier. Not a lot of people play him either. He basically allows you to activate quick play cards from your hand by detaching material.
Or trap cards.
Yeah, not the word. Again, it's not a bad effect. It's not a bad effect. It's an XYZ monster. You can go into Zeus right after. Not the worst, not the best. I think C tier is fair. Next is Ebon Illusion. He's probably like he's closer to B tier. Basically, he's not a terrible card either. He can you can detach summon a normal spellcaster monster from your hand or deck. Again, not bad. You can spit out a Dark Magician, and then on top of that, when a normal spellcaster monster attacks, you can target a monster and banish, or target a card your opponent controls and banish it. Again, not a bad effect. It's just the problem with Dark Magician is a lot of older cards have just been totally power crept, where they used to at one point be good, but they're just not good anymore. Amulet Dragon and this are just perfect examples of that. You can put your resources into this, or you can put your resources into a Dark Magician or a Dragoon. You can put your resources into this, or you can put your resources into a generic link too, like an IP, or just in generic like access code talker line. Sometimes those lines are just better than playing core Dark Magician cards.
My opinion will be his tier is going to be depending on how you build the deck, because a lot of people nowadays will play only 2 copies of Dark Magician in the deck to like make the deck less brickier. And if you're only playing 2 copies, you can't really use his effect. That is going to be the problem. So you might be able to move it to C tier, but if you're playing 3 copies, he's amazing. So I don't know what to say about that part.
Yeah, he drifts with your build.
Yeah.
Next is Dark Magician. We always do this. We always put the monster that the deck is built around in S tier. This is just the good tradition of it. You're playing the deck based around the monster. I don't think anybody would really build this deck without Dark Magician. I think that would be a disaster. I mean, I guess you could do it. There are replacement cards. Like this is a Dark Magician on the field. You've also got Illusion Magician. He's a Dark Magician on the field. This is actually Dark Magician in the graveyard too. It'd be tough to do, but just generally speaking, you want to play at least 2 copies of Dark Magician. I've seen some people play 2. Most people play 2. Now, some people do play 3. I don't think that's the right choice just because it's a little bricky, but most people... yeah, you got to play it if you're playing the deck. Let's be honest.
Just a few facts that you could actually just play Branded Fusion and just make Dragon Knight without playing Dark Magician. So you could actually make a Dark Magician-less Dark Magician deck that I'm kind of working on the deck, but we'll see how it goes.
Next is Dark Magician Girl. She's very controversial. Let's leave her here for a second. She's actually very controversial in the Dark Magician community. Some people say you have to play her. She's very good. Some people say she sucks. I think that, honestly, I'm more in the she sucks category. She's got a lot of problems. So she's kind of a brick. She's either C or B tier, depending on whether you like her. If you like her and you think she's worth playing and she's worth the extra brick, then you put her in B tier. If you think she's not, then you put her in C tier. Just straight up. I think that she's probably around C tier. I don't think she's worth the extra brick. So basically, there's a lot of benefits to her, which is the Dark Magicians floats into a Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. That's benefit number 1. Number 2 is Salvation, which is the new field spell. That basically, if she's summoned, she brings that Dark Magician. If Dark Magician summoned, he brings her out. Then you've got those 2 benefits, and then the last benefit is the Magician Soul Servant. You can draw an additional card, not just one for Dark Magician, but every single turn you can basically draw 2 cards. There are a lot of benefits to her, but is she worth the extra brick? She does absolutely nothing for you. All she basically does is just gain 300 attack for every Dark Magician in the graveyard. Other than that, she does nothing. She might as well be a vanilla monster. And in a deck that already has quite a few bricks, she can be a little bit of an issue. You can put her back into the deck with Illusion, but again, let's think a little critically. Do you really want to waste that resource putting her back when you could have just not drawn her? Again, she's a controversial figure in the community. What can you do?
Yeah, one more thing I'll say is that you could use the Dark Magician's effective float, but the thing is, at that point when you're playing Dark Magician, you do want Eternal Soul activated on your field, and even if they get rid of your Dark Magicians, you could just go ahead and special summon a Dark Magician from your graveyard in defense position if you're like kind of almost going to die or something. So I don't really even benefit the floating effect at that point.
Yeah. Again, it's controversial. It just depends on where. Last time I made a tier list, I think I put her in C tier. People were in an uproar. You can be in an uproar again. Next is Palladium Oracle Mod. She's probably like a C tier card. Not the best, not the worst. Objectively, a better Dark Magician Girl. Unfortunately, she doesn't count as Dark Magician Girl in the graveyard or in the field or like any of that. If she did, she'd be significantly better. She's in almost every single way a better Dark Magician Girl. Basically, when a spellcaster monster is targeted, you can special summon her from the graveyard. So if your rod gets impermed or something, you can summon this from the graveyard for free. You can send this to the graveyard off of Magician Souls, so it's pretty cool. And then it has a secondary effect where it gives protection. If she's face up on the field, she gives protection to your spellcaster monsters. Like, not bad effects, objectively better than Dark Magician Girl, but Dark Magician Girl has 3 million different benefits to her existence. She floats and this and that, and she has all of these various things that are good about her, whereas this card is just not Dark Magician Girl name, and therefore not quite as good. Next is Apprentice Illusion Magician. This card's probably like a B tier, somewhere around...
I will put her in A tier, to be honest.
Do you play her?
Do I play her? If I can, I will.
If I can. What's stopping you?
Well,
better cards have come out.
Yeah.
That's the issue with her. She's another card where better cards have come out. That's her issue. She basically, you discard a card in your hand, and you special summon her, and then you can search a Dark Magician to your hand. It's actually not that great to search a Dark Magician to your hand as much as it used to be, but yeah, it used to be like you really wanted to search Dark Magician. Now it's not really necessary because you have Magician Souls to send to the graveyard, and you have the setup. You don't have to do all that. She used to be really, really, like a really strong card, but she's kind of fallen off. She also has an honest effect where if your Dark Spellcaster battles, you contribute her and then make it gain 2,500. Again, not a bad effect.
I think you can do that from the hand or field. Right?
Hand or field, yeah.
Yeah, and it's 2,000.
2,000, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's 2,000 because it's her attack, whatever her attack is. But basically, like she's another Dark Magician Girl that is better than Dark Magician Girl with almost the same stats. These three, I think, have the exact same stats. She's better than Dark Magician Girl in almost every single way, except the fact that she doesn't count as Dark Magician Girl on the field, or in the graveyard, or in the deck, anywhere. She's just kind of like her own spellcaster monster. It would have been better if she did, but unfortunately she doesn't. That way she could have floated or something.
Actually, yeah, I never realized that. She's not even like a Palladium.
She's not.
She's literally just, yeah, she really is just her own thing.
Yeah.
I never realized
if she was a Palladium card, she would have been quite good. because then you could get an extra draw from Soul
Yeah,
Servant, but she's not. She's just kind of she was a random jump promo. It was like when she came out, she was very good. I remember
She
at one
was
point
vicious.
she was $90.
Yeah.
She was a very good card. I remember early Eldritch builds used to play her, but she's one of those cards. She's just fallen off. It's not that she's bad. She's like Ebon High Magician. She's like Amulet Dragon. They're not bad cards. There's better cards that exist now that you would rather play than her, and that's the reality of the situation.
But there's one thing that she's really good at is like she is really good at outing like
Big monsters.
big monsters. Not only that, she could actually out Abramax.
She can out Avermax,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
because
just
the
normal
attack
summon.
gain is not from the monster.
Yeah, you just normal summon Rod and just attack into Abramax to use the
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Who told you that?
You. No, she's like a good card. It's just one of those cards. She fell off. Like it's when there's someone there to replace your spot. There's nothing you can do. It's like when you've got an all-star cast, someone's got to be sitting the bench, and that's kind of her role. Next is Kiwi Magician Girl. This card's okay. It's probably like a D tier. Its problem is its leveling. It's a level 5 monster. It acts like a really, really, really bad Honest for Dark Magician cards. Dark Magician Girl cards. So basically, for every Magician Girl on the field, you can discard this card, and then Dark Magician Girls you control gain 300 attack. Again, not bad. It's only 300 attack, and yeah, even if you have a full field of them, that's 1500 max. It's really not that much. Also, when it's on the field, your opponent cannot destroy or target your Magician Girl cards. Again, not
any
like
spellcasters
or any spellcaster card. It's not that it's particularly bad. It's just not the best card. Next is, I think this is, what is it?
That's Barry.
Barry Magician Girl. I think she's
Yeah.
like a C tier. She's not bad. Honestly, I think she's probably like a D tier too. None of the cards out of the Magician Girl archetype are any really that good. I don't think they really are as good as these C tier cards here. I think they're probably somewhere around D tier. We'll talk about the one that's actually kind of decent later on. But basically, what she does is on normal summon, she searches a Magician Girl card, and then
If she's targeted for a card effect or an attack, you can just switch it to defense and special summon any one of the Magician Girls except for herself from the deck.
yeah, so it's not bad. It's just not that great. What level is she? Level 2 or level 1?
Level 1.
She's level 1. It's it's not the worst card ever, not the best card ever. It's just something that is used in the Magician Girl archetype, and she's important in that archetype. But as an archetype, Magician Girls are just really not that strong. There's just something that was made for the Dark Side of Dimensions movie, and more so like pack filler than anything. Lemon Magician Girl. She's probably another one. She's probably around D tier.
Yeah, she has a cool effect. She contribute Magician Girl, but not herself, and then adds any spellcaster from your deck to your hand. So you can add like Dark Magician, or you can have Joel and Lockbird because that's a spellcaster. There's a bunch of cool. There's probably other cool targets you can add, but the fact that you have to get another Magician Girl on the field, and like I don't think any of them really like special summon aside from being targeted or attacked and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's like
it's just a very slow archetype.
yeah, and they all have that effect. If she has it too, if she's targeted for an attack, special summon a spellcaster from your hand, negate its effects, and change the attack target to that, and have the other guys attack.
I will say if her effect was treating a spellcaster, then Magician Girl card, this card would have been really good in like Pendulum Magicians, those kind of decks. But thing is, you need to play with the Magician Girls, so that's kind of why this card isn't that good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some negatives there for sure. The Apple Magician Girl.
It's probably the worst of them.
Yeah.
She's like the only one with like, I don't think she has like a cool effect like the other ones. Oh no, she recurs, but they're all still bad anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as usual. If it's targeted for an attack, then special summon another
one
spellcaster
from your
change
hand.
the attack, to it, have the attack, whatever. No one's ever gonna fall for it. You just pick up
Yeah.
the card and read it. And it's like if someone falls for that, good on you, I guess. But if this one's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can recur 3 different Magician Girl names from your graveyard, which is cool. You get 3 resources.
Is it
but
up 2 or 3 exactly?
Up to 3.
2. Yeah, so it's not. Again, as an archetype, this archetype just kind of flopped. Dark Magician Girl still sucks, and so do all her friends. So, not the best. The only one that's good is actually Chocolate Magician Girl. She's actually better than Dark Magician Girl. She might even be a B tier. Her effect is really not bad. She's a level 4 water monster, which means you can make Bahamut Shark and then Totally Awesome if you get 2 of them. She also has an effect where you can discard a spellcaster and then draw a card. That's good in regular Dark Magician. That's good in Pendulum Magician. That's just a decent effect. It's not bad. It's not good. Discard a Spellcaster, draw a card. Like, I can't complain with that. It's a decent effect. Especially if you have, like, an extra dead Dark Magician in your hand. And then it's also got an additional effect where it's different from some of the others, where if she's attacked, you can change the attack to... you can special summon a Spellcaster monster from your graveyard and change the attack target to that monster. So it summons from the graveyard, whereas most of these just summon from the hand. Overall, she's probably the best of all of the Magician Girl cards, including Dark Magician Girl. She's not as good as Apprentice, but again, a pretty decent card, just kind of stuck in a really crappy archetype. And the archetype overall just is kind of rotten, to be honest with you. Magician's Valkyrion, probably bottom of B tier, a D tier I should say. This is a card, your opponent can't attack any monster except for Magician's Valkyrion. If you have two of them, they can't attack, unless they have a Mathmech monster that is unaffected by everything. But other than that, like, if you summon those two, they're just going to pop it with like any other effect. Like, it doesn't stop them from destroying it with, like, a destruction effect. Like, if they Nightmare Cerberus and destroy it, it's just, it's not really that strong. Next is... I believe this is Chronicle Sorceress, I think, and then this is Chronicle Magician.
Mm-hmm.
Chronicle Sorceress is another card that's like one of it's I'd say it's probably like a D or C tier. I'm not a fan of this card because a lot of people say the Dark Magician gets a lot of support and Blue Eyes gets a lot of support, and they give us crap like this. So basically what this card does is if you have a light monster in your graveyard, you can send a Blue Eyes White Dragon to the graveyard, or you can send a light monster to the graveyard. No, I'm sorry, a card that specifically lists Blue Eyes in its text. If you have a dark monster in your graveyard, you can send a Dark Magician or a card that specifically lists Dark Magician in its text. Again, it's just not that good. Your best normal summon is usually Rod, and there are better secondary normal summons than this card. For sure, this card is just one of those cards. It's just made for no reason. It's a waste of a decent artwork. I'm not sure why this card exists. No one asked for it. Magician Souls does what this card does 100 times better. There really isn't a point to play this card. I don't know that any of the back row, none of the back row except for Soul Servant in Dark Magician like floats or has graveyard effects.
I'll see Rod or Robe, I guess.
Oh yeah, Rod and Robe have that's in the back row. The back row doesn't really float. Yeah. Rod and Robe obviously float, but you would just
navigation.
You would just rather navigation has the negate. So other than that, it's just like there's really no point to summon this. You have to waste a normal summon, and how else are you going to get onto the field? Plus, it requires the setup of having a dark monster in the graveyard already in order to use this effect. So overall, it's just not that great. Chronicle Magician's probably a little better. It's probably like a C tier. Basically, if you summon a monster with either 2,500 attack, 2,500 defense or 3,000 attack, you can special
2,500 attack or defense.
Attack or defense, and then what about 3,000? Oh yeah, Dark Magician and Blue Eyes.
Yeah.
So basically, if you summon a monster with 2,500 attack or defense, you could summon this onto the field, and it's a level 7 Dark Monster. It's not bad. It helps you go into Ebon High, stuff like that.
Other rank 7s.
Rank 7s. Galaxy Tomahawks if you're playing Master Duel. Big Eye if you're playing in the TCG. But basically, it lets you summon itself, and then it has an effect where it can make a Dark Magician or Blue Eyes gain, what is it, 2,500 attack? Yeah, 2,500 attack. Again, it's not insignificant because it makes Dark Magician 5,000 attack. But again, it's a little bit too much going on for one day. Next is the Tamias Monster. He's probably like a B tier, probably B. He's somewhere here. He's like here or here. It's tough to say.
Behind Illusion.
Illusion's good, but again, Illusion has just got power crap. Yeah. This card is good, but
it's playable.
He didn't get power crap. He got what you call reverse power crap.
Yeah.
Verde Anaconda got banned, so people started playing him. Yeah. So if Verde Anaconda was in the game, probably wouldn't play him. That's the reality. You probably play him maybe at 1, but this is just another efficient way to summon a Dragoon or another way to summon a Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. Pretty decent effect. You can basically, send a Spellcaster monster to the graveyard or a card that specifically lists Dark Magician in its text to the graveyard, and then you can summon this card onto the field, and then you can use this to fusion summon a monster, including a Dark Magician, or a Spellcaster monster, including a Spellcaster monster. Because you can make like the Dark Magician girl cards too also. Mm-hmm. So it's not bad because this card will help you summon any of these fusion monsters, But again, actually, not only any of these fusion monsters, I think you can actually make
Starving.
yeah, like Starving Venom or any of the generic fusion monsters, Garuga, stuff like that. It's not a bad card. It's just, you have to go minus on the resource minus on the initial resource to summon him, then you have to go minus on the fusion because you have to have the cards available to you on the field, hand, whatever. So you have to go minus twice to get one fusion monster, which in reality, if Tamias was searchable, that would just be so much easier.
I'll say that, like, you could send cards that you already use. Like, for example, you could actually use cards like you could send any Dark Magician spell trap card from your field if it's face up. So you could go ahead and like use cards like Salvation, set the Eternal Soul, then send that to grave, and then special summon this. That way you really don't go minus. So you just need to be really smart how to play this guy. That's pretty much it.
Yep. You can use face up duplicate cards, stuff like that. But if you're trying to do it early duel, sometimes it might be a little rough. This is the Mystical Elf. It's probably the newest card. It's probably like another C tier card. It's just an okay card. Basically, if you control a normal monster, it's not even a Dark Magician card. It's like the Mystical Elf, White Lightning. Basically, if you control a normal monster, you can and your opponent activates a monster effect, you can special summon this from your hand and then negate that effect. Not the worst effect, not the best effect. It requires you to leave this in your hand. It's not a great effect. You're better off just using Effect Veil, or it's more generic. You can use it during either player's turn. You don't have to wait for you to actually summon a normal monster. And then it has another effect where if this is on the field and your opponent attacks it, you can special summon a normal monster from your graveyard or hand, and then change the attack target to that monster. So, not the best, not the worst.
If it was searchable, it would be good.
Yeah. This is another one of those cards. It has Blue Eyes in the artwork. It's just not a Blue Eyes card. And it works with Dark Magician, but it's not searchable. If this was searchable, you could play it as a one-of. But it's kind of just there.
It's probably better in Dark Magician than it is in Blue Eyes. Because you don't really leave Blue Eyes on the field that much.
There's a lot of issues to this card. There's nothing I guess I can say.
This guy's really, really
yeah,
cool.
This guy's awesome. He's my favorite artwork out of all of these. Sorcerer of Dark Magic. I'd say he's probably like a C tier. He will win you certain matchups. I probably rated him too high just because he's a close personal friend. But no, he's really cool. He basically, what he does is you have to tribute 2 level 6 or higher spellcaster monsters to summon him, and then he has an effect. You summon him doing that, and then he has an effect where if your opponent activates a trap card, not once per turn, you can just negate that effect
And destroy it.
It's unlimited. Not once per turn. If you summon this against Eldritch and they don't have a counter trap, it's literally curtains.
And unlike the Paladin and Cavalry, which he's oddly next to, there's no cost.
Yeah, there's no cost. You just straight up just negate.
I'll say you could put him probably behind Dark Magician Girl, because 2 level 6 and 7s aren't that hard if you actually do play the Magician Salvation, because you can special summon Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl at one time, and you could just tribute those to special summon this guy.
His problem isn't really that he's tough to summon. It's just summoning him out on turn 1.
True.
That's the difficulty with him. If you could summon out with him on turn 1 more easily, he'd be a lot better of a card. But he's not easy to summon on turn 1, unfortunately.
Well, that could be a video.
Yeah, that would be a cool video.
Yeah.
Deck profile based around him. He really is a pretty cool card. He's just not. He's not efficient to summon. He's like Jinzo. It's like he's good against what he's good against, and then if your opponent doesn't play that, it can be a little rough.
Yeah.
Next is Dark Magician the this is
Dark Magician Knight.
Dark Magician
Knight.
Knight.
My favorite, actually, by design.
Oh, this is your favorite design?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, cool design. This was in the
That's the warrior. That's the warrior you play for Cavalry.
What show was this in? What season was this in? This was that. I think it was the filler arc.
Yeah.
Right after Duelist Kingdom, the one with the Big 5. It was the first Big 5 interaction. It was like with Mai and all that. I think it was. Yeah. It's a cool card. But
also
again, it's another. All these cards are actually in that 5 thing. Where is the card that used to summon it? Knight's Title's right there. These are both Dark Magician cards. They are not good. Basically, what this card does is the Knight's Title allows you to tribute a Dark Magician to summon a Dark Magician Knight to your side of the field, and Dark Magician Knight, when it's special summoned, allows you to pop a card on the field. That is it. This isn't a quick effect. You have to summon the Dark Magician, activate this, summon it, pop it. It's not worth it. The resources aren't there. Cool art. All of these cards, it's almost like the worse the card, the cooler the artwork. Because all 4 of these actually have really, really cool artwork. No one can contest that, but they're not efficient to play, unfortunately.
Honestly, if the Knight had a better effect, like if he had like a really crazy effect, I wouldn't see a reason not to play it. Like Knight's title is searchable because it specifically says Dark Magician, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it actually summons it from the hand or deck. So all you would have to see is a Dark Magician and the Knight's title.
Yeah.
So it's like if he actually had a good effect, it actually wouldn't be that hard to like get out. Unlike Flare Knight or Sage when he comes up.
It's almost like a ritual summon in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
It's almost like a ritual
from
summon.
the deck.
Yeah, it's like a ritual from the deck. It's actually, in a lot of ways, the summoning of this isn't that bad. This card he's not worth doing all of this. That's the problem. Yeah. That's the real issue, because it really wouldn't even be that big of a combo, honestly, because if you just have Magician Souls and a Rod, normal summon Rod, search this, and then you activate Magician Soul, summon Dark Magician, activate this, tribute the Dark Magician, and then summon Dark Magician Knight. Again, if he had an effect where he like banished your opponent's field or added any spell in the game to your hand, like any like decent, like any pretty strong effect, this card would have been good.
Or if it was a skill drain.
Or if it was like a skill drain for non-spell casters, like if it had like a cool effect.
He's a knight. He's gonna have some.
He's a warrior, actually. Yeah.
Oh shoot.
I think right. He's a warrior. Yeah, he's a warrior. So if he had a cool effect,
to back it up,
this would be playable. He's actually a better ritual summon. It's actually pretty cool early design, but the problem is his effect is just not worth all of this. Next is Illusion Magician.
Top of C, I guess.
Yeah, probably around here. He's another, actually, probably right here. Actually, no, he's better than Dark Paladin. He's probably around here.
I'll see. Probably better than Dark Magician Girl, to be honest.
I'll put him here.
Yeah.
This is another card. This is a perfect example of a card that has just been power crept. He's like Apprentice Illusion. Not a bad card, by any means. This used to be a one-of in every Dark Magician build. Like, guarantee this was a one-of. Basically, what this card does is when you activate a spell, you can reveal him from your hand, special summon him. He counts as Dark Magician while face up on the field. So if you summon him and circles on the field, you get to banish a card. And all of the other effects that you get from having a Dark Magician on the field, you can fuse with him. It counts as Dark Magician. All that great stuff. He also has another effect where I think when the Spell and Trap card is activated, another Spell and Trap card, you can special summon a Dark Magician, which again isn't a bad effect. Neither effect is that bad. It's just been power crept. You don't really have to play him. He's kind of like an additional, what is it called? An additional step that just isn't necessary anymore. That's kind of his problem. Dark Magician of Chaos used to be a really good card. Unfortunately, now it's not particularly easy to summon. It's probably somewhere around D tier. It's been eroded. Basically, what it does is when it's summoned, you can add a spell card. It used to be immediately, but now you add the spell card at the end of your turn. Also, when he leaves the field, he's banished. When he destroys a monster, the monster is banished. Not bad effects. It's just they moved it from on summon to the end of the turn. If you get a card at the end of the turn, you can't set it. You can't use it till the following turn. So it's kind of slow, and that's the issue with this card. And also, you're probably not going to be using it in a Dark Magician build.
Just to clarify, it adds a spell from the graveyard.
From the graveyard, yeah. It adds a spell from the graveyard. Yes. Yeah, it used to be immediately added, and you can activate it. Now you have to add it at the end phase from the graveyard. Next is Dark Eradicator Warlock. This card's probably like a C or D tier.
I'll say D.
You said D?
It's like top of D, I guess.
Yeah. It's a cool card. Don't get me wrong. This was in the structure deck. Basically, what this card does is you contribute a Dark Magician to summon it. Easy summoning requirement. This is the same thing as like Knight's Title. Not a difficult summoning. No, it really is. It's not difficult to summon. Because the deck is very good at summoning Dark Magician. And you want to do something with that Dark Magician. And it has Dark Magician in its text, so you can search it with Illusion Magician. Now, the only issue with it is you have to ask, is the payoff worth the cost? So you play this brick in your deck, and you summon it, and basically what it does is when a normal spell is activated, you inflict 1,000 life points to your opponent. The problem is, Dark Magician actually plays a lot of non-normal spells. You have a lot of quick plays, you have some continuous spells, you have field spells, you have a variety of spells, and this only inflicts life points when you activate normal spells. Now, if you're playing on Master Duel and you have 3 Upstart Goblins, we can have a discussion. You have Into the Void, Upstart Goblin.
Upstart Goblins, they gain 1,000
oh.
life. I was thinking of making FDK with this thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I tested it out. I was like, okay, activate this. They gain 1,000. They lose all. I'm like, what the fuck?
You know what? I didn't think that through before I said it.
Yeah. So,
Hey,
Well, I mean, at
the
least-
Upstart Goblin is free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least
Yeah, the
get
Upstart
draw.
Goblin is free.
Get the
Yeah.
draw.
You get the draw, and your opponent can't say anything about it.
You'll never be Upstart and Nurse Burn.
No.
That is the greatest.
I'll just say other ways to use this card.
Yeah, if you get Nurse Burn and this guy,
Oof.
you can burn 2,000 every Upstart Goblin. That's another story.
Oh,
Other ways to use this guy is that this guy is a level 7, so you could go ahead and tribute Dark Magician, and yeah, you can special summon that Dark Magician back from graveyard in the grind game using Eternal, so you could make a rank 7. So that's one play you could use him. But honestly, if you're doing that, you probably just could play 2 Dark Magicians.
I mean, honestly, that's not too bad either. You get him on the field, activate a normal spell or 2 that's in your hand, and overlay into like a flare metal.
What, activate 2 Upstart Goblins?
I hope not. Knight's title.
It's a free Upstart Goblin, though.
Yeah.
Wait.
Next is Dark Sage. This card's effect is up here.
Yeah.
This card's summoning condition is right down here in Dark Magician. It is terrible. You have to have a
Time Wizard
Time Wizard.
and a Dark Magician.
I just
on the
realized
field.
this is Dark Magician. All right, you have to have a Time Wizard and a Dark Magician on your side of the field. You have to activate the effect of Time
Dark
Wizard.
Magician?
Of Time Wizard. Flip a coin. Win the coin toss. And don't blow up your own board. And then once you do that, you can special summon this guy from your deck, which is pretty cool. This is one of those things
I
like...
think you have to like tribute the Dark Magician too.
Yeah, you have to tribute them, and then you get to summon this. This is one of those cool things about old Yu-Gi-Oh! You can like summon a monster from the deck. You never have to search this thing. You just summon it directly from your deck. Same, like a lot of these older cards have some really cool things about them, but unfortunately, sometimes the effects / summoning condition are just not worth it. Now, once you go through this entire grueling process of summoning this thing, you can add any spell in the entire game to your hand. Any spell, doesn't matter. Raigeki, Harpy's Feather Duster. You think of it, you can add it. Any spell. I don't think it's normal spell either, right?
No,
Any
it's
spell.
just spell.
Field spell, Mystic. You can add whatever broken card you want to your hand that is blue. But the issue is that you have to do all
Why
that
is it
Time
green?
Wizard stuff. Green, teal. Like blue / green. You can add any one of those cards to the game, but you just have to go through that process. Is it worth it? Absolutely not. But if you do it, we'd like to see it. Next is Palladium Oracle Mod. Low B.
Nah, high
Probably-
B, high B.
High B.
High B, yeah, that guy goes high B.
You use him?
Sometimes, yeah.
No,
Like, actually-
Mahad's a really good
yeah,
card.
Mahad's really
He's a
good.
close personal friend of mine, but again, is he good?
I'll say like top B. Put him
Top of B better
Actually,
than
low B because Mahad owes me money.
So what's it called? We've got
Palladium
Oracle Mod. Not a bad card. When you draw him, not if you draw him. He misses timing. He basically, when you draw him, you can special summon him for free. You have to be careful. If you lose Allure of Darkness, you can't summon him off Allure of Darkness because again, he's going to miss timing. But if you draw him in the
Like
draw
Soul
phase, Soul Servant, Upstart Goblin, anything where you draw last, you basically get to summon him if you draw him. Not a bad effect. I think we can all agree it's a pretty good effect. He is a light monster, which can mess with some of the different issues with this, some of the different areas in the deck. Like he doesn't mix very well with Apprentice Illusion Magician because she only powers up dark monsters.
But he goes well with Master of Chaos.
Yeah, he's
So
good
there's,
with
like-
Master of Chaos. There's a lot of sacrifice you have to make when you play Dark Magician. Some things are good, some things are bad. You have to play different builds depending on what you want to do. But he is a good card because he's a Palladium monster, and you can draw an extra card off of Soul Servant. Also, he lets you out bigger monsters, which is good.
Yeah, when he attacks a dark monster, he becomes 5,000 attack.
The thing is, if you realistically want to use Soul Servant's effect to draw more than 2 cards, I'll say he is the most realistic one because he special summons himself, and if he gets destroyed, he also does special summon Dark Magician from deck, hand, or graveyard. That way you have the 2 setups, two cards set up to draw those 2 cards. It's really nice. On top of that, you also do have Illusion of Chaos that if you hard draw into him, that you could just put him back on top of the deck and like try to draw into him with a different card. So yeah, that's like a few ways you could play him. But honestly, yeah, the reason why this guy is going to be stuck on B tier is you do not want to draw this guy in your opening hand. He's just a straight brick, so that's kind of why. But I'll say still this guy is somewhat worth playing. He's a 1-up. If you're going to be playing Dark Magician Girl, I'll just say, take her out, play him. He's probably better.
Yep. Again, you're making with Dark Magician. You're always making sacrifices. Next is Skill Dark Magician. Again, probably like bottom of D tier.
He's Dark Magician.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's Dork Magician for sure.
Dark Magician.
Yeah.
His effect sucks, but his stats aren't that bad.
That's true.
But he's Dork Magician too, because he's basically what he does is when a spell card is activated, you put a spell counter on it. Then when you have 3 spell counters on this card, you contribute this card and then summon a Dark Magician from your deck. Too slow. Three spell cards being activated. It's just this came out. I think this is the first wave of Dark Magician support. It focused around spell counters. Spell counters suck. Except for Endymion.
Yeah, it's basically a worse Endymion.
Yeah.
Servant of Endymion.
I'm so glad that they got rid of having Dark Magician tied to spell counters. Like that was, thank God they did that, because nobody wants to. Nobody wants to deal with all. You want to deal with that?
No,
I don't. No. So nobody wants to deal with that. Next is Rod.
Yeah,
I'd say A tier. Top of A tier.
Honestly, this could be an S tier. It's a really good card. This could be
S
bottom
tier?
of S, top of A.
Actually S
Top
tier.
of A. Top of A.
Because he's the what's it called?
He's your main normal summon.
He's
Would you rather?
realistically he's the only normal summon.
What card do you want to see in your open hand every single time?
What card are you looping?
Illusion of Chaos.
Illusion of Chaos. What are you going to search?
Rod.
Here we go.
Or Souls.
Yeah, Rod or Souls. Those are like the main 2 cards you want to see in your opening hand. This is the best normal summon in the deck by far. Really good graveyard effect. You could probably go on for an hour about this card. You love him personally.
Yeah. I will put
His
him
stats aren't
in
bad.
A.
His stats are not bad at all.
Yeah, his stats is amazing. The reason I'll say he'll be an A tier card is that he cannot directly search Dark Magician. That's the problem with this card. The thing is that you could search Magician, Soul Servant.
Yeah.
Soul Servant, but the thing is, Soul Servant's effect to search a card is after you have a Dark Magician in graveyard. So what will happen in that situation is you're gonna normal summon this guy. If you don't have access to Dark Magician, you're gonna search that thing, set that card, link this off with Artemis. Next turn, you activate that Soul Servant to add a Magician Souls on top of your deck. Then tribute your Artemis. Then you have access to Dark Magician. So it's kind of slow at that point. But he is the best normal summon that, and he'll give you access to multiple Dark Magician spell and trap cards. So I'll say top of A is the correct place with this guy.
He's an extremely good card, and he recurs himself too.
Yeah, that is like where this guy's like really good.
All right, next is Magician's Robe.
C.
Yeah, probably like a C tier card, probably bottom of C. He's another one. I won't even say he got power crept. He was never really that good. It summons a Dark Magician from your deck during your opponent's turn. Not bad, not great. Again, Rod is just better. The problem is this card's kind of dead on your turn. His effects are really during your opponent's turn. He also has a graveyard effect to recur himself when a spell or trap card is activated. But again, it's just, and he gets banished when he leaves the field. Not a bad card. No one's saying he's like terrible. It's just there's so many better cards to play in the archetype than him. That's kind of the issue with him. Next is Magician Souls. This card's an S tier card. Probably here. This is another card that's just like so good it transcended the archetype. They played in Eldritch. This card by itself, it made Spirals meta. Yeah, it made Spirals meta. Spirals were like a deck that everyone had in like a shoebox and under their bed. Nobody cared about it. It was dead. Nobody cared about Spirals. As soon as Magician Soul came out, that deck went from like tier 4 to tier 1. Everyone is playing Spirals the following week. That's how crazy this card is with Spirals. It's just a really, really strong card. Lets you send any spellcaster to the graveyard, 6 or higher, special summon itself, or the spellcaster if it's a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl that you sent. And then on top of that, you can send spawn trap cards to the graveyard and from your hand or on the field, and then draw cards equal to that amount. This deck has up to 2. This deck has so many dead spell and trap cards that you're always getting pluses. You have like multiple Magician Circles. You have the field spell if you're not playing Dark Magician Girl. Just a variety. Just so many different cards that are just like they're dead spell and trap cards. Sometimes you play against like a matchup where Imperm's not the best. If you're playing against Eldritch, Imperm's not a great card against Eldritch. Just get rid of the Imperms, draw cards. Like it's also this card is actually good if you're playing skill drain in your deck. It sends the card for cost, so you can get rid of your own skill drain and then OTK your opponent. This card is just super duper sick. Next we've got Dimensional Conjure. This is one of the new support cards, probably like a C tier if we're being honest. And the spell card that goes along with it is probably somewhere around there too. It's right there. Where'd I put this? Right here. Basically what this card does is on normal summon it searches this card, which is the Magical
Fusion or something like that? Magical Dimension.
Magical Dimension. Basically it searches this, it adds it from your hand deck or no, from your deck or graveyard, which the graveyard part is actually pretty cool. And then you can when this card leaves the field, meaning the Conjure, when this card leaves the field, you can basically draw cards equal to the amount of spellcaster monsters you control, and then put cards to the bottom of your deck equal to the amount you draw. This card lets you tribute a spellcaster monster, summon one from your hand, and then destroy a monster your opponent controls. Again, not a bad little engine there, because you get, you know, if you play 3 of this, like if you play this as your normal summon and Rod as your normal summon, you can normal summon this, add this, and then every single turn you have a free pop. Again, it's not like the worst card ever, but it's just it can be a little bricky to play all of these extra cards. And honestly, most of the time you want to summon Rod, because Rod recurs himself. You'll add him back to your hand, and you're going to want to summon Rod.
You can also do like cool stuff, like you can summon him, search for the spell, special Magician's Soul, send the spell. If you don't want it, you don't need it, whatever, and then draw a card or draw 2 if you sent something else. And you can link the Conjurer dude for like Relinquished Anima, and then you have 2 spellcasters in the field. Draw 2, put 2 back. So you've seen like 3 to 4 cards, and you've like took like 2 cards out of your deck. Like some nice little fix your hand kind of stuff.
I will say the bigger problem will be that so for Dark Magicians, like once when you summon this guy and have a say you have Rod or Magician's Souls, you're already sending your Dark Magician from deck to graveyard. And my question will be, would you actually have a target to special summon? Because if you don't have a target to special summon from your hand, you're not going to be able to activate that spell. So I'm like, yeah, C, the bottom C sounds like correct for me.
Next is Magic Kuriboh. Not a bad card. Again, it's like a C tier card. I think if this came out a few waves earlier, it would have been a decent one-up. But it didn't. And now we have this card on the front of binders. No one gets that binder. This card is, I'd say not terrible.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, not terrible, but just not great. It basically, if you take any battle damage, you can send this card to the graveyard and then special summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your deck or graveyard. Not bad. Again, you have to wait till the battle phase. So that's kind of the issue with it.
Or during the main phase, if they have like a burn or something like that.
Yeah, well,
that's
yeah.
not too bad either.
I guess, yeah, if you're playing against like Flunderies and they burn you for 5, do they gain life points? Do they burn?
They gain.
Oh, never
if
mind.
If they're playing like
oh yeah, Sword Soul.
Oh, Sword Soul.
Praying Kids or Sword Soul. If you're playing against Sword Soul and they burn you for 1200, you can discard this and then summon Dark Magician from your hand. Not the worst.
Or from your deck.
From your deck. From your deck or from the graveyard. Again, not the worst, but like, come on, like this is better cards that you can play. And then on top of that, if a spellcaster monster you control is destroyed by card effect or by battle, you can add this card back to your hand. Again, not bad. Again, if we had a few waves prior of support, like if this card came out in like Dark Side of Dimensions,
if it
wouldn't have been too bad.
Before Souls came out, it would have been like
it would have been a playable card.
Yeah.
But again, as soon as Souls came out, this would have been right back in the bulk bin. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where this is. It's maybe a one of, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Or if it came out around the same time as like what's her name, Maiden. Like Maiden for like Blue Eyes.
Oh yeah, Maiden
with
like
similar-ish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, you get like a from the deck or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Like around that time would have been really good.
The Kuriboh cards in general, when they're made for other archetypes,
they're like just.
Yeah, when they're randomly
like
made for other archetypes, they're just not that great because most of the time they're battle effects, and battle effects are by the time your opponent enters battle, if your board's not serious, you're dead. Next is Magician of Chaos, original vanilla Magician of Chaos goes in Dork Magician. There's really no point to play this because there are better versions of these cards, And the ritual card probably goes somewhere.
Second row, first card.
Yeah, this goes in there. It's just a normal ritual. It's a regular ritual spell. There's nothing special about it. It has no graveyard effect like modern ritual spells. You can't recur. It's not like Droitron, Medionis. It's nothing like that. It's an old school ritual spell.
Actually, he's even worse than the ritual because isn't he level 8?
He's level 8. Yeah, he's level 8. No, there's 2 rituals. One's level 8, one's level 7.
No, I mean like he is worse than his spell.
It was worse than his spell?
Yeah, because the ritual spell is just a regular ritual spell. There's nothing bad about it. But he himself is like, he's 8 and Dark Magician.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he's not like you have to get rid of a Dark Magician and another card to summon him, and he's just a regular monster. Now, I will say it's pretty cool artwork.
Oh yeah, he's
artwork's really cool. I think most people can agree this is one of the coolest looking artworks, and that's why this card just continues to be like remade. It's even though it's just this guy sideways, it's still a very, very cool artwork, and it helped Yugi beat Pegasus in the show. But I don't care if that happened or not. This card still sucks. Next is Dark Magician. What is this? Magician of Chaos Max.
Yeah.
This card's actually pretty good. If you can summon this during your opponent's turn, it's pretty strong. I think it's probably C tier. Top half of C tier. In terms of the ritual build, you will try to most of the time summon this guy. Basically what he does is, when you summon him, you contribute, a spellcaster monster? Or a monster. You contribute a monster, and then you negate the effects of all. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn.
Yeah, basically Astoth.
Yeah. But you have to find a way to summon this during your opponent's turn.
Well, that's not difficult.
Yeah.
Keeper of Dragon Magic is
it's not. Keeper of Dragon Magic.
Keeper of Secret. Whatever, the quick play spell.
Yeah, this card is a quick play. You can also summon him off of him.
Yeah.
You can also summon it with Urgent Ritual Art. So it's not impossible. It just takes quite a few resources. Yeah. Now, the other issue is he's level 8.
Yeah,
that's an issue. That's the biggest issue. If he was level 7, we could talk about it. But he's level 8.
The way to play that guy is going to be
which is the next card. And the next card, I think, is a better card overall. But because he's actually, like, level 7, and he's got,
I will
like...
still put him...
Probably C tier, probably around here.
Behind this guy, because, like, the main reason...
Yeah, the main reason you play this guy is to make this guy. But...
honestly, if Dark Magician had more ritual support, I'll say that these two will be, like, busted. But for the moment, they don't have it.
Yeah.
Positive part of that card is it becomes Dark Magician. That's one.
Yeah, so you can summon it back with Eternal Soul.
Yeah.
And also, when this card, when it's summoned, you can pop a card. When it's Ritual Summon, you can destroy a card on the field.
Oh, no. If any card is activated, you get to pop a card.
Yeah. So you summon him, activate a card, pop himself, and then you can summon this from your hand, and then tribute, quick effect, and then on Ritual Summon, you can tribute, and then your opponent can't activate monster effects. It's a pretty simple combo. It just it's too resource intensive, unfortunately, but it is a cool concept. Next is Illusion Magician. This is an S tier.
Yeah, that is.
We've discussed this so many times now, too many times.
Yeah.
This card's very, very strong. You guys can take this one over.
As if Magician Souls couldn't get any better. There's like if you splash Magician Souls into a deck, you can run him just to search for it, and then you can what's it called? His effect is that I don't even know what his ritual monster effect is. Like on the field,
it's just
irrelevant. It's just irrelevant.
Yeah, no one's ever used it.
Well, what's it called? In the hand, you reveal him and then add like a card that like Dark Magician. I don't know how the Dark Magician card search works. Like none of them actually say something. They just say like card that just lists Dark Magician. It's such a strange thing. But what's it called? But yeah, you can just add the Magician Souls and then put the illusion back on top of the deck, and then send it to summon the souls. So you like get rid of like a card from your deck. It's like a really cool little like trade out, trade in and out, and like it makes it searchable so you can splash it better, and you can search for other cards that are good too. But that's like the best one.
Not only that, as a ritual monster, his effect is really good because. So what he does is he basically can negate a monster effect, and after that he balances himself back to your hand and special summons a Dark Magician from graveyard to your field. By doing that, he is a negate, and you do have a search set for next turn. So like this guy is just so good.
The grind game.
That's kind of why I'll say, oh yeah, in the grind game, but like that could be a turn 1 play because. If you could just...
Turn 1?
Yeah, turn 1.
You're getting a monster effect on turn 1?
What? Oh no, you go first. You basically...
I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, but yeah, this guy, like, as a ritual monster or, like, as the search card effect, like, everything is just so good. So he's S tier. Like he is been played outside the archetypes, and he's that good.
He's a very strong card.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what are his attack points?
21
He's not that strong.
and 25 defense.
From here on in, we have to speed it up.
Okay.
We're taking our time. Well, all of us. Let's try to not spend more than 2 minutes on a card.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's this card do?
That one.
What is this card? Dark Magic Expanded.
Yeah, expansion.
All right. Next is Dark Magic Expanded. I think this is another kind of like D tier card. It's not the best card. Basically,
it's a quick play. It's if you have it has sequence like effects depending on how many numbers of like Dark Magician girls you have in the field of grave or whatever it was. If you have one, they gain like attack. If you have two, your opponent can't respond to your spell or traps, which is cool, but like it's too much. And then 3 is like your spellcaster is like unaffected, which is like these are all like decent effects, but you'd rather have like disruptions or something rather than just protect yourself. If you want protection, the Fusion Knight is just way better.
I honestly would put that in Dark Magician because the third effect you get
no
that
way.
from Eternal Soul.
this card is somewhat playable.
Okay.
These cards,
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to hand to a kid that just got into Yu-Gi-Oh.
The attack gain is actually like decent.
Yeah, this I can see somebody playing. You go, oh, it's a 1-up.
Yeah.
I topped. But like, there's this stuff is like.
Yeah.
Not only that, all these cards are expensive, by the way.
Oh yeah. If you top with those, like you're a genius.
Yeah, or you're masochist. Next is Sage's Stone.
Sage's Stone.
Sage's Stone. See, probably this is like D tier. It's not like terrible. What is it? When you control a Dark Magician, you can summon a Dark Magician girl.
Yeah, something like that, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Or vice versa. It's one of the two, but it's just not.
if you're playing girl, then you're playing that.
Yeah, if you're playing Dark Magician girl, you definitely don't want to summon her unnecessarily. You have a million other ways. You have like the floating effect of this. You have the salvation. Like she's not like a card that you particularly. She's one of the only. This is one of the only ways to actually get it out now that get the girl out. You can also get her out onto the field into the graveyard with
souls.
With souls. That's usually the better way to do it. It's just a little bit slow, but cool artwork though. I mean, let's appreciate it. That's a pretty cool. It's a stone going out of a thing. This is a controversial card. You won't find a more controversial card in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. This Dark Magician girl and this card are like so controversial. This card is either C tier or B tier. It isn't one of those two.
I'd say it's B tier just because it's still playable.
All these C tier cards are playable.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
moderately.
This card's very good. It's either top of C tier or B tier. Some people, I swear, they play 3 copies of this card. They're living in a fantasy. This card is so good, but it's not searchable.
That's the only problem.
That's the biggest problem with this card. It is not searchable, and it's not hard once per turn, is it? Or maybe it is. Whether it is or isn't.
I think all the claws, the dragons, I think they're all once per turn.
It's most likely once per turn, but even if it isn't once per turn, you still don't want to see multiples. You don't want to see dead cards in your hand. A lot of these monsters are already like level 7 monsters, level 6 monsters, level 8 monsters. They're already high level monsters. You don't want to see them. You want to keep them in the deck until you can send them to the graveyard at your own pace. And you do not want additional bricks in the deck. But the card is actually very good because it can summon any fusion monster here as long as you have a Dark Magician on the field. But it's not searchable. And it sucks because it is a weird text thing where it says a Dark Magician monster rather than Dark Magician. And because it says that, you can't search it with things like Rod. And Magician's Illusion Magician, the Illusion card. And you can't search it with the Circle.
And Soul Servant.
Yeah, Soul Servant. You just can't search this card. If this card was searchable, we'd be putting it here.
Yeah.
And all of the fusion monsters would get better because you'd have access to all of them. But unfortunately, how cool would Dark Magician be as an archetype if this card was searchable? Like seriously, how seriously? Like, you play the deck, you know better than anyone.
Yeah.
You can go into Dark Cavalry to finish games. You can go into this to negate spell cards. Like all of these different fusion monsters, your extra deck would be only Dark Magician cards. But this card isn't searchable. You have to max it out, or you have to play one. If you play one, you'll never see it. If you max it out, you'll see multiples, and then you'll be angry about it. So that's kind of the biggest issue with this card. I wish it was better. I wish it was searchable.
Yeah. Well, if that thing was like searchable, a Dark Flare Knight will become a D tier card and not Dark Magician.
No, I'd still be Dark Magician. Why would you summon that? Dark Cavalry is a better version of him.
Dark Magician, crash into your opponent's monster, special summon the other one for game.
This is why it's in this tier. All right, next is Soul Servant. This is either high A or S, probably high A. Very strong card.
I'd say it's just high A just because it takes a little bit of
Actually,
setup.
probably better.
Yeah,
behind Rod.
Yeah.
Rod, you always want to see in your opening hand. Sometimes you see this in your opening hand, and you don't have a way to get to Dark Magician in the graveyard. And you're like, what am I going to do with this? You set up for next turn.
I'll say this card is just 100 times better in OCG or Master Duel because they have more draw power. That's like the only
That's
problem.
true. Yeah, they have Upstart
Upstart,
Goblin, Chicken Game. Also, they have the card that lets them draw, and then discard their entire hand into the
I was gonna
void.
say all the cards are talking about are cards that let you draw.
No, into the void, into the void. You get into the void. You have like basically nine
Is
one
Into the
card
Void good
draws.
In
In
this
this
deck?
deck, you can play into the void. You don't have to keep anything in your hand,
Other than
except for the
Illusion.
Dragoon negate.
And
no,
Illusion.
no, even for Dragoon, you could just add back your Rod.
Yeah, you can add back Rod. Most of the time when you play this deck, you won't end with anything in your hand anyway. But
except hand traps.
yeah, except for hand traps,
And Illusion.
it's
Yeah. You
all
keep that in your
debatable. Illusion, some people shuffle back the Illusion.
Fair enough. Okay.
It's there's different ways to play it.
Yeah.
But the point is this card is actually very good. Also has an additional effect. You can put any Dark Magician card on the top of your deck. Also has an additional effect where you can banish this card from the graveyard and draw cards equal to the amount of Dark Magician Girl, and Palladium of Oracle monsters you have in the graveyards. That is different names though. So if you have 3 Dark Magicians, you only get to draw 1 card. If you have 3 Dark Magician Girls, you only get to draw 1 card. You can't cheat the system. It's for every individual name. But again, it's pretty good. It's one of the reasons why you would want to play Dark Magician Girl. One of the more controversial cards. This and Eye of Tamias.
The
Palladium
most you
Oracle
can draw
is 4.
Four.
4 is the most you can draw right now. There's 2 Palladium Oracle monsters, and there's Dark Magician Girl and Dark Magician.
One way to play it is you can just go ahead and set that card and face activate that, put Mahad on your top of your deck.
Yeah, and then you just draw Mahad, and you get to summon him.
Yep.
And then you get to draw.
Mhm.
Pretty cool. What is this? Dark Magic Attack? Probably B tier.
Top of C tier.
Top of C.
Not top. This is a B tier
No,
card. I'm
it's
going to
a
stop
play-
you right there. This card,
Yeah.
everybody's playing it. You have to play it.
Well, yeah.
If
I was
you're, it's a
gonna-
one of.
I was gonna say A tier. That's a searchable.
Shh, we're all in
Searchable-
disagreement.
Searchable heavy feather duster. It's
No,
insane.
this is a B tier.
I'm like,
Bro, that's
I'm
Have
that's
you
a
built a
game.
Dark Magician deck and not played one
The
copy of
thing
this
is,
card?
I'm probably the person that like really said this card. You play this card in Dark Magician, but the other thing about this card is like, all right, put it in B tier for now. But
It is. That's where it's going to remain.
Yeah. All right. What? Oh.
B tier, yeah.
Yeah, B tier. You know
It's
what?
B tier because you said C. You said C. He said A. I said B. It's in the middle.
Okay.
This card's very much a B tier card. This is a good card. This is a card you want to play at 1 in the Dark Magician. It's either this or 1,000 Knives.
The only scary part with this thing is sometimes that if you do not have the Dark Magician and if you draw this in your opening hand, it could be a brick. So that's like the scary part. That's why I'll say it's a card you need to play in the deck, but it's going to be top of the C. That's my opinion as playing the deck.
This card,
It's-
this deck has bricks,
Yeah, it does.
and that's one of the things that we have to accept.
Alright.
And this is one of the cards you don't want to draw. You want to search.
Yeah.
But the reality is, sometimes you are playing against Owlich or you're playing against a back row deck, and you open this in your opening hand, and you're not complaining.
Yo,
Yeah,
that's,
and you're just gonna win.
You're gonna win.
that's how I
That's
topped.
it.
That's how you top. We're gonna leave this in B tier. This is a good card. You said A tier. I'm saying B tier. We'll leave it in B tier.
Yeah. Other thing is, it actually does give you a lot of different like plays with
It does because you activate a face up. You activate Magician's. You activate Eternal Soul,
Mhm.
and then you can activate its effect, and you can trigger Rod, even if it's already face up on the
Not
field.
only that, I also posted a video that you could do. You can search that thing if you don't have a card in your hand, and if you just end up with one illusion, you can just go ahead and use illusion's effect, shuffle back to the deck, and search whatever card, and you can just keep looping that.
So should we move it higher now?
I'll still see top of C, but whatever.
Magicians Unite. This card is terrible. If this is a Dark Magician card.
Yeah.
Basically, what this card does is if you control I think with 2 spellcaster monsters, you can make one of them gain attack until they become 3,000. Okay.
Blue eyes.
Yep. You get a blue eyes if you summon 2 dark spellcasters, or 2 spellcasters. Just not good.
Oh, illusion magic used to be.
This card, oof, this is a perfect example. Another card that got power crept. Probably bottom of C tier now, just because again, back in 2017, you wanted to add Dark Magician to your hand, which is why Apprentice Illusion was good, which is why this card was good. It tributes a spellcaster monster, adds 2 Dark Magicians. You wanted to add Dark Magician. Now you do not want to add Dark Magician. You want to send Dark Magician to the graveyard. So having 2 Dark Magicians in hand is just not really that helpful. There are cool plays that you can do with this card, like you can like normal summon Rod. Your opponent tries to imperm, activate, tribute, search 2 Dark Magicians, and Rod resolve. Cool stuff that you can do, but still, other than dodging hand traps, this card is really not that good. Yeah, it's just something that got power crept. I think we're all in agreement there. All right, next is Dark Magic Twin Burst. This card sucks. You can target a Dark Magician. You can target a Dark Magician card. Yeah, this is probably like a bottom of D. You can target a Dark Magician card, and then it gains attack equal to the amount of Dark Magician girls on the field in graveyards.
Put that in Dark Magician. Like, you have Apprentice.
And it's not a quick play.
Yeah. Put it in
So you have to, like, in advance, know
Dark-
that you're going to do this.
Dark Magician.
Come on, guys. Yeah, terrible. Next is Dark Magic Inheritance. This card is, again, another card that kind of got power crept. It's probably somewhere around C tier. This used to be a one of, and now it's kind of like a dead card. It's probably better in the OCG because they have a lot more spells that they can put in grave. But basically, you banish 2 spell cards, and then you can search a Dark Magician card, a spell or trap card, and it's a hard once per turn. Probably a one of, like, if I was playing in the OCG, probably play it at 1 just because they have so many spells that they can go through Chicken Game and all of this other Chicken Game, Upstart, and all that stuff.
Void.
And yeah, Into the Void, all that stuff. Then you can play it. But again, it does the same thing Rod already does. So
not only Rod, does
and
the same thing with
yeah,
Soul Servant.
it's like not a bad card. It's an additional search, but it's just like, is it necessary? That's the question. The cost isn't that bad. Like, nothing about the card's bad. It's just got power crept. When you just have better versions of cards, there's no point to play the older versions. Magical Circle is probably like an A tier card.
Nah, that goes to B. Not A. The reason why you can actually play the deck without it, I'm pretty sure about that. It's the main interruption, but the thing is, that is like the other thing you want to add. Like, first you want to go for souls. You want to go for Eternal Souls, and after that, that's like what you're going to be adding. Because like, you can play the deck with Skill Drain and not have that card.
Do you do that?
Yes, I do.
You don't play this card.
I do play the card. I do play the card, but I'm just saying, sometimes there's situations that you need to give up to search that thing and just go for the place you have. Because Eternal Soul is just 100 times more important than that card.
I agree with you. Eternal Soul is more important than this card. But
Yeah.
does that make this card worse?
No. But I'll say it's a B tier card. Definitely in TCG, because they don't have you don't get the tech with like switching your top deck and drawing into a card with using draw power.
We'll leave it at B tier for now.
Yeah.
Next is
Dark Magic Veil.
Dark Magic Veil. What is this? Pay
It's like pay 1,000, summon a dark
spellcaster from your hand.
grave.
Yep.
That's it. I wouldn't say it's that low. I wouldn't say it's
Like
low.
C tier.
Yeah, it's like C tier.
Not bad.
You could recur Dragoon.
Yeah, it's
That's
not a
like,
bad
that's like
card.
actually like really good.
No one's saying it's bad. It's just
Yeah.
not searchable. It's in there. Maybe you play 1. No. Here's the breakdown, right? S, everybody's playing. A, everybody's playing. B, most people are playing. And C is optional. And then D and F you probably shouldn't play. Next is
D you probably shouldn't. F definitely should not be playing.
Go somewhere else. Diffusion, Wave Motion, probably like D tier, somewhere around there. Basically, you can target a spellcaster monster you control, and it can attack all monsters your opponent controls. When it destroys that the monster by battle, the monster's effects are negated, so it basically stops recruiting effects. Only that monster can attack.
That's
Yeah, it actually must attack.
It must attack. It's the only one that can
Mandatory.
attack.
It's like a kaiju.
So it must attack, meaning that if they have a really, really strong monster, you have to attack into it. Make sure that attacks last, but you can attack into it. So yeah, that's kind of the effect.
Yeah, that's cool with all these like random cards that make Dark Magician gain attack.
Yeah.
Like if you stack a bunch of them and you just attack everything, go for game.
If you
Ultimate
apprentice, you
Conductor.
can.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
If you can apprentice, you can
Let's
OTK.
put it at top of D because it's cool.
It's cool. I've never seen anybody do it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't
Oh,
say.
actually,
I wouldn't say it's a
not
bad.
searchable.
It's not searchable. It has no
Oh, yeah,
Dark Magician in
it's
its
not
text.
Yeah.
But there's no other.
Would it go down a little?
Oh, it's not treated as a fusion.
It's not
Dark
treated as a
Magician.
fusion card.
Dark Magician.
That's not
Get it out of
good.
here.
All right, so
Whatever.
Burning Magic. This is if you control a Dark Magician. I didn't mean to put it down there, but this is if you control a Dark Magician girl. It's probably like a C tier.
Nah, D.
This is not that bad. If you control a Dark Magician girl,
Like,
is it a quick play too?
It's a quick play. The thing
Yeah.
is, our argument here is like, is Dark Magician Girl good or not? And we're like,
If we put her in
debating.
C tier, playing this isn't the worst idea.
Okay.
It's a quick. If you control Dark Magician girl, pop all your opponent's monsters.
Oh, and wasn't there a card that
Yeah,
like,
it searches
summons Dark
it.
Magician Girl and sets that?
Yeah, there is. That's bond between teacher and student. We'll get to that momentarily. Next is the fusion spell. It's probably a B tier card. It is a one of.
Yeah, it's a one-up.
A lot of people play this at one. It's your other option to fuse with Eye of Tamias. This is your other option to fuse. It's a one of. It's a quick play. It's got a lot of cool aspects to it. It's both a fusion spell and it's a ritual spell built into one. You can do a lot of cool things with OTK, all that great stuff. Next is Magical Curtain. This is actually one of the oldest cards here. It's one of the first waves of Dark Magician support. Came out in a premium pack. This is probably like.
I'll put it in C.
It's not the worst. It's just
Yeah.
why would you play it when you can
Yeah.
just use
No, I think
Magician
it's-
Circle?
I think it's D because doesn't it restrict you from summoning?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Smart.
it
No, he's right. He's
does, but-
right. Basically, you pay half your life points, which is a lot. It's half. And then you summon a Dark Magician from your deck. Thank God, not your hand. I think hand's an option too, but you summon it from your deck, and then you can only that is the only monsters you can summon. Again, this is one of those things that you maybe played at one back in 2017, and definitely back earlier than that. But now it's too slow. You'd rather just play other stuff.
It's like Red Ass Fusion, but even worse.
Yeah. Next is Piercing the Darkness. I think this is like a C tier card, probably like somewhere up here. I actually like this card a lot.
Yeah, I also like that card.
Yeah, it's a good one of. It's just you never want to see more than one, so you play one. So basically, what this card does is when you summon a, what is it, level? When you summon, I think a level 5 or higher, or a level 6 or higher. Basically, if you summon a normal monster, a large normal monster, you get to draw a card. It just can't be a token, and then basically, it draws every time you summon a normal monster, which combos really well with Eternal Soul because every turn you bring back a Dark Magician and you get to draw a card for free. And then when one of your normal monsters battles or a monster that was used, a monster that was used, that was made using a normal monster as material, so like a XYZ monster, a fusion monster, ritual monster, synchro monster, where one of the materials was a normal monster. So like let's say you have like a Dragoon, you used. If you made a Dragoon and you use Dark Magician as material, when that monster battles, it gains attack equal to your opponent's monster. Which is actually, it's really not that bad. Like, I use this personally at 1. It's a pretty good effect. Some people would even say put a little higher, put a B tier. It's a pretty good effect. It's actually what Mirage Knight does, but the monster doesn't banish itself at the end phase, and you get the draw.
Yeah.
It's just, you'd see multiples of this, it's a dead card. You can, get it in the graveyard with Magician Souls, but again, then you could just play less of it.
Actually, what you said about that card, Eternal Soul, if you have that Eternal Soul and then the Dark Magicians, you draw like 2 cards every turn.
Yeah,
It's
it gets
insane.
pretty sick, yeah. But it's a lot of setup,
Yeah.
and it's not searchable. That's the other issue. It's like it has Dark Paladin in the artwork. It's one of those like half Dark Magician, half Blue Eyes cards. It's supposed to support both, but it supports neither because it's not searchable. No, it's serious. It's one of the problems. Magician Salvation is probably like a B tier card.
A tier.
This is an A tier over Circle.
Yes. Because it's direct access to Eternal Soul, and like it gives you plays with Magician Souls and.
But so does Circle. Circle gives you plays with Magician Souls.
It does, but the thing is that this is more important because I'll just say Eternal Soul is just more important in the deck, and this gives you direct access. Top of that, if you're playing a deck version with Dark Magician Girls, it gives you more plays. So I'll say this is like a one-up, but you need to play.
It is a one of.
Yeah.
And if you play Dark Magician Girl, it does become better, but we've established that we are Dark Magician Girl haters.
Yeah.
Dark Scepter Blast, I believe this is called.
No, that's a Chaos Scepter Blast.
Chaos Scepter Blast. This is if you control a level 8 or higher spellcaster monster. This is probably like a C tier. It's actually a decent effect. I think people were using this in one of the festivals. Basically, if you control a level 8 spellcaster monster.
8 or higher spellcaster, you can banish 1 card in the field face down.
Yeah, non-targeting, non-destructual removal, goes face down, your opponent can never see it again, can't recur it unless they have like Cypherium Lord Omega. So
And you know who's a, what's it called?
it's
Who's
permanent.
a higher spellcaster? Dragoon.
Yeah, and Dragoon is a level 8 or higher spellcaster. And
if it's destroyed by opponent's card effect, you special summon Magician of Black Chaos or Dark Magician of Chaos from your deck, so ignoring its summoning conditions,
Yeah.
which is just okay.
yeah, that card's okay. Yeah, it recurs, and then it can summon this thing out and add a card back, which you can actually add this back with this card, and then do it again. Not a bad card. Cool with Dragoon. The problem is there just aren't. They've spent years supporting level 7 spellcasters, and then all of a sudden they want to drop level 8 spellcaster support out of nowhere, and it's not there for me.
Yeah, you're not going to build a deck around Dark Magician of Chaos.
No.
Like, it's
It's
virtually impossible.
It's too complex. Next is Dedication Through Light and Darkness.
Speaking of more,
Yeah, more. This is older though. This I think
Yeah,
you tribute
that's
what you
weird.
tribute a Dark Magician.
I believe that you tribute
Yeah,
Dark Magician
and then summon a Magician of Chaos from your deck, which is this card. Again, if this card was its old effect, maybe this would be worth it because it has Dark Magician in its text. So you just summon a Dark Magician, activate this, summon this, activate this, recur a card. Wouldn't be the worst. But the problem is this is the old effect, so it's eroded and it adds during the end phase, and it's a little bit too slow.
What's funny about the quick play is that it summons from the hand deck or graveyard.
That's
More
awesome.
likely than not, he's not going to the graveyard. He gets advantage when he leaves the field.
Yeah, unless you send him off of Magician Souls. There's a lot going on. Sometimes there's too much going
A lot
on.
of goofy stuff.
Next is Bond Between Teacher and Student. This card is probably somewhere around C tier. It's a decent card. This, again, it depends on how much you like Dark Magician Girl. You like Dark Magician Girl a lot, this probably goes a little higher, maybe even B tier. If you don't like Dark Magician Girl, this goes probably lower. Basically what this card does is if you have Dark Magician, or is it when you have Dark Magician or Dark Magician
Dark
Girl, you get
Magician on
yeah
field,
on your
special
field
summon
you
Dark
get to summon
Magician.
Dark Magician Girl, and then you get to set Dark Burning Magic, Dark Magic Attack, or Burning Magic Attack from your deck to your back row. 2 of them are quick plays, so you can activate them during your opponent's turn to disrupt it. It does a lot of setting up, but this card's a little bricky, and you got to play additional bricks in your deck. Now, sometimes, and there are players that'll say this, sometimes this actually ends very well. So sometimes you have a Dark Magician, and it turns into a board wipe and a Dark Magician Girl. You actually go +2. But most of the time, you'll just be bricking on a Dark Magician Girl. So that's the issue with this card.
Or one of the spells you would set off.
Or one of the spells, because like this card right here is extremely good. Like the effect is actually pretty good. If you control Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, has a quick play, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. No one is saying that's a bad effect. That just requires a bit of setup. That's kind of the issue there. I mean, it's like a 2-card combo with Magician Souls and Rod, because you can just basically that's the bread and butter, all the Dark Magician stuff. But the truth is, you can just set up so much better stuff. You can set up Dragoon. You can set up just better stuff that will stick to the board more than just a monster spawn trap card wipe. But overall, like, not terrible, not great, not terrible, somewhere around C tier. It just depends on how much you care about Dark Magician Girl. This is F tier. One of the most expensive cards here in the highest rate. I think it's over $1,000.
Oh, yeah,
It really
glass.
is. This is one of the most. This is probably the most expensive card here, if it's not a common. But basically, what this card does is it's an equip play. You can use it on a Dark Magician. Was it Dark Magician or a Spellcaster Monster? I think it's just a Dark Magician. It gains 700 attack, and if this card leaves the field, you gain 1,000 life points. That's it. It's not great.
At least you can send it off of
Illusion,
yeah. No.
not
send it
the
off
other
of-
thing.
Yeah, it's Dark
Souls.
Magician or Dark Magician Girl.
Yeah, it's just not great. Next is Magical Knives, probably like C tier. This is the other option that you have, to search off of Eternal Soul than Dark Magic Attack. It's not a bad card. It destroys 1 monster targeting. Again, it's not a bad card, but most of the time you'd rather play Dark Magic Attack. Now, if it's a very monster heavy meta, you might want to switch this out. It'll help you go second better. But overall, I think this is generally the card you would want to play. Next is Destined Rivals. This card is a card that sounds good on paper, but is actually pretty bad in practice, probably like a C tier. Basically, if you control a Blue Eyes or Dark Magician, you can activate this card. You can negate all monsters your opponent controls. Most of the time, when that sounds like, whoa, you're going to negate so many monsters. The reality is, most of the time, you will just negate 1 monster, because your opponent will summon like I don't know, like Elemental Hero Stratos, and you'll chain this card immediately to negate that Stratos, and then that's it. That's every monster you negated.
I'll say the positive part is that it's non-targeting.
It's non-targeting and it's searchable.
Yeah, that's the positive part.
Yeah,
pretty
but
much.
it negates all monsters on the field. So if they, it's all face-up monsters on the field, but it negates all monsters on the field. So if, regardless, they can still dodge it the same way they dodge imperm. So if they like return the monster to hand, they tribute the monster. If they book the monster, it'll still probably
I'll
not be
say
negated.
if this card was a quick play spell, it would have been pretty good.
Yeah, it's like it's not a bad card. Nobody's saying it's bad.
Yeah,
it's just it make this text will make it sound better than it is.
Yeah.
All right, next is Dark Illusion. Basically, this is a D tier card. What it does is when your opponent activates a card, a monster spell or trap that targets a dark monster you control, you can negate it and destroy that card. That's it. Not the worst, not the best. It's on a trap card, kind of slow, type slow. It's not good enough. Eternal Soul is an A tier card.
Yeah.
It's one of the most important cards in the deck. I don't think anyone would contest that. Its drawback sucks, and when it gets popped, you're not happy about it. But the reality is you have to live with that drawback because the effects of it are just... it's too good. It summons a Dark Magician every single turn. If you don't have a Dark Magician, you search the Dark Magic attack.
Or Thousand Knives.
Or Thousand Knives. And it makes all Dark Magicians unaffected. So
just imagine how many times I played against like my opponent activating Super Poly, tried to Super Poly my Dragoon and Dark Magician. I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's so many, like, they are still fully able to activate Super Poly, but they cannot resolve it. But yeah, it makes everything unaffected, and if your opponent doesn't know how to play against unaffected cards, or if they're not a great reader, they basically will continuously run into things that just pitfalls where they can't play. But this is one of the most important cards in the deck. The deck literally revolves around this card. The only reason it's not S tier is because its drawback is like really, really annoying. When it gets popped or banished, it just literally breaks your own board. And nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, the biggest reason, I'll just say, like, you can play Dark Magician without Dark Magical Circle, worst case scenario, but the thing is, you cannot play Dark Magician without Eternal Soul, because you can use Dragoon's effect to pop instead of using Dark Magical Circle, but you can't, like, replace the Eternal Souls. That's kind of why I'm saying this is that important.
So that's there.
Yeah.
Next is Magician's Circle. Next is Magician's Circle. Basically what this card does is when a spellcaster monster declares an attack, both players could summon a 2000 or lower spellcaster from their deck. This thing is super slow, not good, probably bottom of D tier, maybe even F tier. It's just not a very good card. It used to be played in Dark Magician like years ago, just to cheat out like Magician's Valkyrion, but that was like this is the alpha build, that was like 3 decades ago.
Also, you can play that in Witchcrafters to special summon Veil, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's not a great card.
Yeah.
Next is this card, which is probably bottom of F tier. Basically, what it does is there's a magical restoration.
Yeah, you like remove like 2 spell counters, summon a Dark Magician or Buster Blader from your
graveyard, right? It's not a good card. It is not a good card. Remove 2 spell counters. Again, this is the spell counter era. There's not a lot of cards left in it, but it's a good thing they turned away from spell counters because nobody wants to play them. Next is the Navigation. This is probably like and this is one of those controversial C tiers. This is one of the cards. This used to be the best card in the deck. This used to be a $30 card. But again, it just got power crept. There's nothing you could do. This is the C tier is like the power crept section. This got power crept. This got power crept.
Not playing.
It's got power crept.
Not playing
Illusion.
Apprentice. Not playing the Apprentice and the Illusion, the quick play spell. So it's not very often that you have Dark Magician in your hand anymore. So like, trying to resolve this card is like, it's just not gonna happen. Like all your Dark Magicians are, as you said several times, in the deck or sent to the graveyard. So if it's in your hand, like something's going wrong, and you don't want this card when something's going wrong.
They fundamentally changed the way the Dark Magicians played. You no longer want Dark Magician in your hand. There was an era where you wanted it, but that era is done. It also has that negate effect.
Yeah, in the graveyard, I think it has a really good effect. I think it's at least worth playing at least one, because it's a really good send off of Magician Souls, because during your opponent's turn, you summon Dark Magician off Eternal Soul, banner, something, circle, and then if they try to like Lightning Storm you or some back row removal or something, you can banish the navigation from your graveyard if you control Dark Magician and negate a face-up card your opponent controls.
Yep.
Which
That's
is
pretty good effect.
It's pretty solid.
Next is Magician's Combination. This is probably like a C tier, if we're being honest. The issue with this card is just requires a lot of setup. Basically, it requires, if you have a Dark Magician on the field and your opponent activates a monster spell or trap, you can send that Dark Magician to the graveyard, special summon the Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard, and then negate that.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, yeah.
Send Dark Magician Girl, summon Dark Magician.
So basically, that's kind of the catch with that card. It just requires too much setup. You have to have both cards in play, Dark Magician Girl. Again, it requires you play Dark Magician, and it's just another kind of bricky card where if you don't have Dark Magician going, it's tough to set up. There's kind of the issue with the card, and if it leaves the field, what do you get to do? Pop a card?
Yeah.
But again, it's just...
Face up on the
field.
field.
Face up on the field. But most of the time, if your opponent activates, like...
Yeah.
If they did activate spawn trap card removal, you chain this anyway, and then it's face up. It's not...
But if you do get the rotation going, you have a negate every single turn, which is really cool.
I really got excited with this card like when it came out. The only thing is that you really need to set up, and like you're not gonna have that set up on turn 1. That is like pretty. I'm pretty sure that's kind of realistic because you're not gonna have Dark Magician Girl in the graveyard. On top of that, not only that, you're going to be needing Eternal Soul in that situation. So yeah.
Next is Magician's Defense. It's probably like a D tier card. Basically, any damage that you take is halved, I believe.
Like half damage.
Yeah, half
you
damage.
You can't have it more than once. There's some weird wording like that or something.
Yeah, like you can't have it more than one. No, I think you can. So you can have it, but I think you can't something like that. I don't know.
It's like
you
weird.
can't have it more than
you can't
once,
have
basically.
that same damage.
But it basically has damage, and then if this card's sent to the graveyard, I think from the spawn trap card zone, you can summon a spellcaster monster from your graveyard. Which again, it's not bad because if you send off Magician Souls, you could send summon a Dark Magician back and then keep your Magician Souls. So this is a cool play or two that you can make with it, but overall, I don't think this is worth playing. Last card is Dark Renewal. This card is probably better in Altergeist than it is in Dark Magician. It's probably somewhere around D tier.
It used to be a really crazy card.
Yeah, it's one of those cards.
Slower day, yeah.
In a slower day, crazier card. And this came out in like the legendary duelists, not legendary duelists, in the legendary decks. It was a pretty decent card back in the day, but it's really slowed down. You used this a couple times in Altergeist, right?
Yeah.
You tried it out.
In Altergeist, honestly, I'll put this on C tier to be honest.
C tier, I don't even. I'm not going to argue with this now.
Yeah,
about Circle and Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, we can argue. But this, you can put it wherever you want.
Yeah.
It is non-target removal, which is like really good. But then it's like the first thing they summon, so it's like
the other thing is that you could tribute your Rod and send your opponent's monster to grave, then special summon Dark Magician. So I'll say it's not even that bad.
Yeah.
Dark Magician.
But that is everything. Let us know what you guys think about these placements. Are some of them controversial? Is Dark Magician Girl rated too low? No, it's not. Is Circle rated too low? Is Circle rated too low? Yes. But
is the Dragon Knight chick too
is
high?
this Dragon Knight lady too high?
Yeah.
Most likely. But let us know in the comment section how we did. If you think we messed this up egregiously, definitely put that in the comments, especially if you have a profile picture with one of these cards in it. But thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.
La 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 la.